This week on Lind on Learning, I'm going to answer Rowena Hennigan's question, which was, what is blended learning? My answer to this is based on the foundation of what most people think of when they hear blended learning, but with an entirely different flavor. When most people think of blended learning, they think of taking a traditional classroom session and breaking it into two parts. Part of the classroom stays, but is focused on discussion and role play, things like that, and then the content is shifted out into some online format and people are expected to go through it before they come to the classroom. Fundamentally, I agree with the idea of breaking learning into content and experience, and honestly, there's nothing inherently wrong with that approach. In fact, it's a really good starting point if you have 100% classroom offerings. That said, I'd advocate pushing for blended learning 2.0, which is an improvement on the original. So how is 2.0 different? First, you have to dump the assumption that classroom needs to be a part of it. It might not. Technology may be able to create the environment needed to simulate the experience you're trying to create without a classroom at all. Or better yet, people might be able to jump right to the experience while doing the work. Now, before the haters accuse me of saying the classroom never needs to be there, I'm not saying it never will. However, we need to stop assuming it always has to be. Second, give people a blend of options on how and where they can consume the content. Too often we design a universal journey and assume it will work for everyone. And this doesn't have to be as complicated as it sounds. It doesn't mean you have to design 10 different versions of the same content. It might be one delivered through multiple channels. You might not even need to build anything. You might be able to curate some recommended stuff that already exists. The bottom line is you need to empower people to have the choice on how they can learn what they need. And finally, and what I think is the most important part, is stop trying to force people through the content in order to participate in the experience. This is the hardest but most critical mindset shift. So why do it? First of all, this is one of the things learners hate about corporate learning. Maybe people need the content. Maybe they want to see it, but maybe they don't. Some people are comfortable just learning by jumping into the deep end. So stop force feeding it to everyone. Second, it will help you stop committing the cardinal sin of good blended learning, which is ruining the experience by bringing the content in because you're afraid people didn't go through it. So there you have it. That's how I define blended learning 2.0. I hope I answered your question, Rowena. Thanks everyone for watching, and keep the questions coming.